Hello everybody and welcome to the Benefactor and Chaotic Neutral Games. This is our D&D 5th edition campaign. I'm your DM, Simon, and also known as @Cascaniobi on Twitter. And I'm here today with Felicia, Corinne and Nick. We've got a bit of a play going around the Chaotic Neutral team at the moment. We've got Nick, who's managed to drag himself in despite having terrible sniffles. We've got Corinne, our murder kitty Eclipse, who unfortunately is doing seal impressions with her coughs. Glory, Felicia, seems to be the only one who's well at the moment, but let's see how long that lasts. And we have and we have Aiden Rodrigo, who may be with us later, but is also hit with the plague. Now, considering we're all in different areas of the world to each other, this is quite impressive. We also have Kate, our resident Cora, who isn't with us today. As we said in the previous stream, she's actually currently doing an improv murder mystery, which is fantastic. I hope that she does well and enjoys herself doing it. So let's get the guys up on the audio as well. Hello, my remaining players.
Hi. We sound wonderful. We're really healthy people, honest, Gov.
Yes, I got my water here to keep my coughing to minimum. The water is to help me and my throat.
Good stuff. Right, so
from Buddy and the Alex Body, yes. Sponsored.
Not really.
More Swedish pork.
More Swedish stuff. And many people who will be watching will have no idea what you're on about.
Yeah.
Right. So, previously on the Benefactor, you guys went around the city, discovering lots of little tidbits about the 3 weeks' worth of memories that you lost, which is now kind of old news, even though only 24 hours has passed in game time. And you found out a series of things. You know that you've been trained either by arcane means or other means in various weapons and skills. You've clearly gone out and used a lot of your abilities to get to level 7 from level nearly 4. You've done quite a lot in those 3 weeks, and yet you've only really been able to piece together one. And that's the 1 week that you were here in the city 3 weeks ago, which was kind of your downtime, a downtime which you have no idea about. Although you do know what you did, you just don't remember it. You managed to collect a few people together to quiz them on what had happened. And now, after a day of running around the city, going and speaking to strange angels and getting visions to try and restore some of your memories, you have a much needed good night's sleep. Well, I say good. Glory,
Here we go.
you end up getting a vision, being that you went to sleep with your jewelry on, including that dark opal that is connected to your family, and, more importantly, to your patron, Frania, the black dragon, the progenitor of your family. And he gives you a brief, being that he's a very busy dragon, he gives you a brief pep talk, promising that if you rise, if you impress him, he will give you the highest honor, to be a member of the Kinsguard. And you have seen that the brand of the Black Dragon flight was on the chest of a drow that was attending him at the time, showing that that drow has some black dragon blood in him. And through a ritual performed by Frania himself, has been bestowed with some of the abilities of dragons. We'll see what abilities they developed when you pursue this storyline. But either way, it was a lovely dream. Eclipse, you had a peaceful night's sleep, catnapping your way peacefully through the night. Aiden had a very interesting dream, and it's possibly one that we will see the result of next week. So we're going to split time a little bit here. And Kate, after discovering a few sores on her legs, revealing that she'd been riding in the last 24 hours, also had a good night's sleep. But farewell. Oh, farewell. After your vision that you had in the university, where you saw some shadowy features of figures calling out across a distanceless void, calling out your name, you dreamt of those same, presumably, people. And this time it wasn't just the tops of heads you saw. Oh no, you saw figures. Featureless figures, darkness on darkness, reaching out to you. But instead of calling out your name, they're reaching out to you and they're calling out another name. Simon. 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 Which of course freaks me out, it's my name.
I was kind of hoping that you wouldn't pick that one if I went with that one. that was the whole motivation behind it. You won't possibly pick that one.
And I left you with a question last week. The question was, as they reach across this distanceless void, you can feel that they're reaching towards you as actually them trying to make some form of connection with you. As they do so, you realize that you can, again, distance doesn't exist here, but to use the metaphor, you can step away from them, or you can step towards them, allowing them to touch you, to connect with you. And that's the decision that I've given you, and I'm sure that you have been considering for the whole week.
Yeah, we'll go with considering. Considering is a nicer word. It's not the one I would have particularly chosen. Fuck it. Yeah, let's go with a connect.
Okay. So before we go into this scene, can you please explain for the viewers, being that there's enough of my voice on this downstream, who Simon is?
Oh, right. Okay. Well, hold on. Let me my notes because my memory's a little bit short. If you can't tell by the lovely husky voice that I have. Simon is one of the members of the Farewell Caravan. He's actually Simon is actually Farewell's uncle, who survived the event that happened to him. He is a actual paladin of the Raven Queen, but he's more of a sort of Renaissance man, shall we say. He's very well read, but infinitely very humble. He enjoyed more of the travel and meeting people than he ever did drawing his blade and fighting off the evils of the world. And he has potentially been doing something in Ostergold. Farewell is aware that he's here.
Yeah, you're aware that he's in the city. In fact, he was another person who was in the complex around the Raven Queen Temple. So he wouldn't be inside with the rest of the faith, the paladins, the clerics. He's more of a knightly character. But instead of a going out and seeking adventure knightly character, he's somewhat of a Renaissance man. So yes, he's got the armor, he's got the sword. He's trained, as most people in the caravan were, about how to defend themselves on the road. So he's no slacker when it comes to that. But as you say, he's incredibly well read, a bit of a sophisticat. And yeah, he's there. And he's the only Simon that you know.
Yeah.
The only Simon that could possibly be referred to. So I'm not going to get you to do a intelligence check or anything along those lines. I'm telling you here and now, that's what enters your mind. Because remember, these words aren't being said. They're just entering your mind. So,
oh boy.
Let me just bring up the chat on my phone so that I can see all the lovely people who may be watching.
I don't think there's anyone watching at the moment.
I doubt there is, but all the same.
There's one viewer, and that's me.
And now there's actually it's not even 2 because my personal account's only connected to the chat. But let's keep on. Farewell. There's a moment of terror as these beings reach out to you, and I want you to do something that you're keyed for. You are a grave cleric after all. I would like you to do a wisdom saving throw to keep your nerve.
Wisdom saving throws. There they are. Oh, good. I'm actually good at this.
You're gonna roll a 1.
Eric.
19.
19.
No.
Oh, okay.
Faith is all about entering the unknown. If you know that things are safe, if you know that things are the right course of action, it's logic, not faith. And it's faith that you're being drawn up, that's being drawn upon now. These appendages, as blurry as everything else, reach toward you, and you steel yourself, committed to your action. Cold, icy,
Oh boy.
something. You can't even feel the fingers. It's just a sensation of these cold appendages start to touch what is, I guess, your spectral form, your astral form. What is it? It doesn't really matter. But you can feel them touching you. And as you feel them touching you, there's a moment, a bracing moment, like being dunked in cold water, of surprise, of fear, of feeling like something's going to happen to you. And then, in harsh juxtaposition, something else. Embrace. The embrace of family. You can feel them holding on to you. You can feel them holding onto your arms, holding onto your shoulders, not grasping you and certainly not pulling you. You felt like you feared that they may be pulling you to some end. But no, they're touching you. They're touching you in such a way that's conveying insight check.
Okie dokie. Well, that's a natural 20.
They're conveying confidence. This is like someone putting a hand on your shoulder and looking you in the eye. They can't look you in the eye, but they're putting hands on you almost as a way to use a tactile message to say, it's okay, you can trust us, trust what we're saying. They keep screaming the same name over and over and over again, and suddenly you get this huge sensation. Simon's in trouble. You got a natural 20, so I'm going to tell you, you're being touched by members of your family. You can't tell which, but you're being touched by members of your family. A great time to have a natural 20. That insight check, there is a specific natural 20 effect.
Okay.
In fact, I'm going to give you a bonus roll. Roll insight again.
Come on.
To see if you can maximize on that 20.
So that's 23.
23? Absolutely. Let's give you more about this.
Considering I fucked up the last time we did one of these checks, I'm so glad the dice is coming through.
Okay, so there's one sensation that goes from your shoulder up your neck, and it just very slightly caresses your ear and then runs through your hair. And suddenly a tear wells up in your eyes because you remember the last person who did this. It was your mother.
Oh dear. Can I reach out and do I get a sense of all these spirits around me that if any one of those is the one that's doing this, and that I can potentially reach out and connect with that one?
Distance doesn't exist here. Neither does position. All of these connections that are connecting to you are non-Euclidean beams of light connecting you with something else, with something else, with something else. you feel that the way that you connect with that person is simply just to throw away all sense of direction, focus on that person, and connect with them. It is a feat of will, not simply a matter of movement.
In that case, then I would like to focus in on that sensation, like with all of my will. That is the one that I want to focus on and chase.
You reach out, and it's not a tactile response that you get. You touch what is just a mote of consciousness out in the void. And the second that you touch it, you know that this is Mercy Barebones, your mother. As you connect to it, there's just a knowledge, a feeling, a presence. It's the feeling that you get if you're in a room with your back turned, with somebody that you know and love is in the room. There's that unexplainable connection that you can just feel between you two, some form of ESP. And here, in the absence of all else, a void that would be maddening, you find that this connection to somebody that you love so much, the void it's completely gone. This sensation, the first time you fell through it, it was the most maddening thing, this total and absolute silence, this darkness without feature, this sense that you can't even feel anything on your own skin, the complete absence of any form of sense, the worst form of madness. And yet, this one consciousness, this one sensation, this one connection pushes nothingness into nothingness. And you and this connection become a single microcosm. You know that, instinctively, you know that she can't connect with you as in have a conversation with you. But you do feel love, you do feel a form of communication that can only be communicated by emotion. And that is love, fear for you, concern, and an urgency, certainly an urgency. And as they're screaming, Simon, 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 over and over again, you suddenly feel the point of light that you recognize as your mother drawing towards you. Again, no distance, it's just a feeling. And suddenly she's all around you. Almost like she's giving your soul a hug with hers.
Oh, dude.
There's an intensity about it that's just profound. And there's a whisper in your ear. There's still the same shrieking, twisted sound to it, but it's clearly meant to be communicated as a whisper. And you hear, Simon. And at that point, you feel the hug disappear. Two appendages appear on your pecs, your chest, as she pushes you away. Out of the void, you come hurtling into reality. Light and sound and sensation. These soft sheets, the best that money can buy on your skin, feels like sandpaper all of a sudden. The smells of things feel like somebody's pouring ammonia down your nose. The taste of your own mouth, this disgusting taste of saliva that feels like you've just been there festering for weeks until you suddenly realize that your taste buds are recognizing the taste of yourself, your own mouth, for the first time. You've gone from complete nothingness to being in the world again, and it is the most sobering and painful experience of your life. As you do so, you've got one thing in your head, one mission: to find this family member, to stop him going to wherever the hell they've gone as well. As you do so, your hands flex out, black energy roiling around inside your hand like smoke, and the knife appears. As the knife appears, it also pierces the sheets, and as it pierces the sheets, a black rift starts to open up. It's growing, slowly, but it's growing, and as the rift opens up, you can hear the screaming of your relative. You can hear the screaming of Simon. You know that this rift, in a few seconds' time, we're talking 12 seconds' time, 2 rounds.
I'm through.
Shout
I'm through.
for us.
No, I'm through. I haven't got time. I haven't got time to do that sort of thing.
You can shout. You have time to shout for us.
I'm giving you 2 rounds so you can shout for them, because not only are you hearing the screaming of your relative, you are also hearing this horrible, guttural, ripping sound, the sound of ripping flesh.
In that case, I would like to use thaumaturgy at the very top of my full 3 times in a repeat of many sessions ago, when I woke the entire tavern up, and we'll repeat that, and I will yell for my friends to come help me as fast as they possibly can.
Okay, in that case, thaumaturgy, no roll, no perception check required. Glory and Eclipse, you wake up with an absolute start as a loudhailer in your ears says, get to me now! And it's Farewell screaming hysterically for your help. As you guys get up and you're working...
we bring Idem with us, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say no. I've already figured out what to do if he does turn up. Okay, so... Glory and Eclipse, you get up and you're grabbing for your weapons. Glory goes to grab her old arcane focus, then looks at her hand and goes, pretty, and just runs straight out. I would like to remind you all that you're all in your bedclothes, so your AC for this fight is 10 plus your dex modifier.
Excuse me, I have dragon scales, but mine is still 13.
I would sleep in my leather, because I can do that. You can sleep in light armor without any penalties.
Yes, but you wouldn't. I'm ruling that you didn't. Who the hell sleeps in their armor in their own house? If you were traveling on the road, I would say so.
Would I have enough time to grab my shield at least?
Yeah, your shield. I'll allow you to snap up your shield. And sorry, Eclipse, you were not sleeping in your leather armor in your house. If you were on the road, absolutely. If you were even in a dodgy tavern, I would say, yeah, maybe. This is your house. You are supposed to be the safest you've ever been here. So your AC is 10 plus your dex modifier. And yes, Glory, you're quite right. You have dragon scales. It's 13 plus your dex modifier. You've got the same armor and a pair of underwear as you do on any other day. So as Glory charges out...
She's got more AC than I do.
True. Yeah, right now, yeah.
Yeah, right now, because I've got a +2 for my dex, and I get a +1 for my shield. So I'm actually on a 13.
No, you get +2 from a shield.
Oh, is it? All right, so I'm up to a 14 then. Hurrah.
Okay.
Twinsies.
Glory and Eclipse, you run past and you realise that Aiden's door is open and he is not in there. Cora's door is closed. If you want to see if you can try to wake her up, you can. But other than that, you're pegging it into Farewell's room.
I'm just going to run into his room.
Sure, okay. You run into Farewell's room, and as you get in there, Farewell's bed is now engulfed by this black crackling rift in time and space. This wormhole torn open by the knife that is still in his hand. And below you, through the rift, through the bed, and you'll have to jump through the bed, you're clearly looking through the ceiling of some form of stone building, and below you is a large, probably we're talking like 7 or 8 foot figure. It's made out of twisted, distended flesh. Its arms and legs are very thin, like, probably thinner than my arms, despite its size, and incredibly long, almost like someone stretched the arms and legs like a Stretch Armstrong doll. From what you can see of its hands at the moment, it's grabbing hold of a water genasi, much like Farewell, a little bit older, and it's pressing long black fingernails. I mean, I say fingernails, they're long black talons, forcing them into his skin, pushing them into his body. And the skull is a bold, featureless skull with the same distended flesh pulled and warped around it. It has no eyes, 2 tiny slits for a nose, and the thing you notice the most is the teeth. It's got a giant jaw about 1 foot wide, and the teeth are this mess of jagged bone shards that go out in every direction like razor-sharp daggers. And it's currently biting into the forearm of this genasi, pulling back its teeth and ripping flesh from the forearm of this genasi.
I cast, when we're about to jump in, I cast Shadow Blade. So I got my Shadow Blade out.
You can do that on your initiative because you guys get a surprise round because this rift has opened up silently. That's one of the eerie things about the use of this. It's a silent thing. You guys will get a surprise round in which you will be able to do that. But until then, everyone roll initiative.
Woo! Kate is going to be so upset that she's finally we're having a combat session and she's missed it. So I'm letting you explain to her.
Simon,
yeah.
I rolled a nat 20 on initiative.
Good to see.
Nice.
You can go balls to the wall on this one. You could absolutely murder him. It is a 14 for farewell.
Okay, and 15. Okay, so in that case, the order is Glory. I'll call it now the Flesh Gaunt, then Eclipse, then Farewell. So it's not going to go in the first round. It's going to carry on doing what it's doing. So technically it does go in its round because it doesn't just stand there and do nothing in a surprise round. It's going to carry on doing what it was doing before, and that is taking chunks out of Farewell's relative. Glory, what are you doing?
Well, I'm going to assume that we just jump in, all three of us.
You can jump in, or for now, you can just fire things through the rift. Your choice.
Oh, I can fire things through the rift. Now, that sounds interesting.
If the rift starts to close, then you'll have to jump in. But other than that...
By the way, Simon, is the creature considered to be in darkness? Or dim light? It's for mechanical purposes.
Yes. This is the middle of the night. The Flesh Gaunt attacked Simon in his sleep. So yes, I would say it is as close to darkness as you can get. Incredibly dim light.
Cool. That means I get advantage. So
you will, yeah. Okay,
Shadow Blade is awesome.
Glory, what are you doing?
Yes. I was thinking, like, we did talk about like a modified fireball with acid.
Yes, but yes, you will hit his uncle if you hit him with that.
Yeah.
I would say like
this is a 15-foot by 20-foot room. There, if you fire that in there, it will get him. It's a 15-foot by 20-foot room.
I'm gonna say like your chromatic acid orb at like level 3 is probably like better choice with single target thing.
Yeah, either that or a scorching ray.
Yeah, scorching ray probably solid, or just cantrips. Cantrips work.
Go for it. It's your round. You do what you want to do. You throw your shit.
Yeah, we'll start with a scorching ray.
Sure.
Let's see here. I'll cast it using a 3rd level slot. So that's 1 additional ray you create for each ray. So I need to make 4 range spell attacks. Let's see here. That was 3. I need 1 more. Okay, my spell attack is +8. So,
big numbers, big numbers, big numbers, big numbers.
Is 24 a hit? Because that's 2.
24 definitely hits.
Okay, so that's 2 hits. Then there is this one, which is
the lowest one, Felicia.
13 plus 8. That is.
You've hit
21. Is that a hit?
3 hits.
Okay, and then the last one is a little bit lower, and it's only at 17.
17 barely hits.
So that's it.
That's 4 hits then.
Oh, fuck me.
That's a lot of dice.
That is 4 times 4, 2d6. So 1, 2.
8d6.
I need more d6. More d6.
Yes.
More d6.
Are you doing with your mini d6?
It's
3,
right up there with
4.
more dots.
Yes. It's why you have extra d6s.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Fireball dice for the win.
Wait, you're rolling as many dice as you would in a fireball, so like not a bad idea going like third level fire scorching ray for a single target.
Yeah.
Okay, first ray hits for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Second ray hits also for 7. Third ray hits for... Is that a 5 or 8? No, that's a 4. Okay, so 8. 7, 7, 8. And then we have a 7 again.
Nice.
So 3 7s and then a 9.
Yes.
So, yeah, 29 points of fire damage. So you guys watch as Glory, without even hesitation, almost as if, you know, that she's completely sorted out in her head. It's a case of, I'm not hurting anybody, this thing's a monster, I'm just going to do this and it's going to be fun. Her eyes go wide as she just flicks out with her new jewelry, and these 4 motes of light appear in between her fingertips and explode. And as they do so, they turn into spiraling, twisting, miniature fire maelstroms that just... these fiery ribbons just firing from her hands and lashing into the creature below. Yeah, I mean, this is like Ghostbusters crossing the stream shit going on here. It's all hitting one space. There's the smell of burnt flesh. Flesh is blistering and just sloughing off the bones of this, instantly frying the creature's back. They're all hitting roughly the same area, carving these fiery cauterized lines. Go on.
I'm not done yet.
You go, girl. Come on. Let's see that magic bullshit. Come on.
I will use Quicken spell to cast a 3rd level chromatic orb with acid damage.
Sure.
Did you gear this fight appropriately for the bullshit that you've created?
These days, I take encounters up to deadly level and then add more because I know my players.
Good.
Have you like scaled it down because we're only 3 people?
I scaled it up because originally it was meant for 1 person.
Yeah, it was just meant for me.
Yeah. Wait. So it's 3d8 normally, and using a spell slot of second level or higher, the damage increased by 1d8 for each slot over first. So that's 2d8 more. So 5. Yes, 5d8 of acid damage.
You got to roll to hit.
Add my. Are you right? That's first. Bad. Aw.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, that's a hit because I rolled 15 and then plus.
Sure.
All of your shit.
Yes, I hit. Now I can roll my 5d8s.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. 8, 9, 10, 13, 18. 19, 20, 25.
25. Okay. This has got to...
And wait. That's an acid chromatic orb, which means that I can add my charisma modifier for extra damage. And my charisma modifier is +4, so that's 29 damage.
So 29 fire and 29 acid.
Yes.
We even got a turn.
My bloody word. Glory's a monster. Right.
Yes.
So this is what happens. So this is what happens. Fiery ribbons throw out of Glory's fingertips, burning the back, just searing through it, and not even cauterizing, boiling the flesh. as they score down this creature's back. The creature...
I'm just going to add hit points.
No, I'm not. Thankfully, I didn't need to, because I already know what you guys are like. I've learnt my lesson from the TPK session that I tried on Tuesday, and everybody survived. Barely, but survived. So, and Flesh Gaunts are one of my creations as well, so I can scale them up per player. So this 29 points of fire damage rakes down the back, these fiery ribbons boiling the flesh, these giant wounds opening up in its back. One of the things that you think is a wound suddenly grows teeth. And out of the wound comes a face. The face comes up, the same featureless, no eyes, 2 little slits for nose, this weird dagger-like collection of broken bones for teeth. And you watch as a second wound starts to just undulate, and this hand, this claw comes out. And as it comes out, Wolverine style, these long 6-inch black needle-like nails extend from one hand, and then another hand, and then an elbow as it starts lifting itself out of the other flesh gaunt. It's about halfway out when Glory goes, fuck that shit, makes an acid chromatic orb, and throws it in the face of the one that's coming out, because it's obscuring the other one. Okay? As she does that, she hits the face starts to melt away, the teeth start falling out as the gums and the mouth are starting to just rot away with this incredible amount of acid damage. There's 29 points of acid damage straight to its face. The skull starts to be visible as the flesh is just dripping off the face of this flesh gaunt. And you watch as the crack appears in the middle of the skull, and the skull parts. And as it parts, it starts to regenerate, and suddenly 2 heads appear from this flesh gaunt. And the arms suddenly go all Shiva on you as the 2 arms split like some sort of amoeba, turning into 4. And 2 noticeably smaller flesh gaunts are crawling out of the back of the original flesh gaunt, which seems to be shrinking in size.
Oh, that's deeply unpleasant.
Right.
Kill it.
It's okay. It's okay. I have a plan.
Okay, my turn?
No, it's their turn.
You said
no, hold on, we got a surprise round.
Oh, yes. Sorry, it is still their turn. I said that they would be doing what they were doing.
Oh.
So I'm going to say that the first flesh gaunt, Mummy flesh gaunt, is going to continue to rip the crap out of Simon. So let me just do that a sec. Okay, noted. And the other 2, I'm going to say that they're going to spend this turn, being that they aren't surprised, pulling themselves out of the other flesh gaunt's body. So by the time they've finished, they are out of the body, and you now have 2 small flesh gaunts that are climbing up the walls towards the rift, and the slightly larger but now reduced flesh gaunt ripping into Simon.
Okay.
That was that turn. Eclipse, what are you doing?
The flesh gaunt isn't currently more than 20 feet away, is it? It's like...
No, this is about, I would say this is probably about 15-foot high chamber.
Cool.
That's 15 foot wide and 20 foot long, long ways towards the door. And then you're on a rift that is on Farewell's bed, but that directly correlates with the ceiling. So you're 15 foot above these. And also remember, these things have height. So you're probably to the closest part less than 5 foot away.
Ah, cool. Then I don't even need to throw it if it's less than 5 foot away. So I'm gonna stab it with my Shadow Blade.
Which one?
With advantage.
Which one? One of the 2 small ones or the big one?
The big one.
The big one? Sure. Yep. That big one, as I said, it was about 7 or 8 foot. And it's kind of bent down. You will have to kind of go prone-ish for a second, but then you can get back up again because you've got.
At least throw it. If I can't reach it, because 5 foot is like normal range. If it's not 5 foot away, I will throw it. If it's 10 foot away,
I will allow for a basic attack because you can effectively go down prone, stabbing it, and then go unprone again, because each of them takes half your movement.
Well, it doesn't really matter throwing it or like stabbing it, whichever. Like, if I don't need to waste my movement,
Glory, we can hear
then
you
I'll throw
typing.
it.
How?
Yeah, it
My mic was
muted.
muted.
No, it wasn't. Anyway, I will attack.
Gremlins.
So on a natural 19, I hit. Plus billion. So sneak attack because I got advantage.
Yep, definitely sneak attack. That one, okay, it has been hit, but you have advantage because it's in dim light and you're using a shadow blade.
Yes. Oh, this is pretty good. 10, 12. Så 10, 22, 24 och sen plus min dex, vilket är plus 4, så 28 points of psychic damage.
Man, oh man. Okay. You lash down with this blade made out of pure shadow, and the creature rears its head back as you manage to get it kind of just above just below the neck, just at the nape of the neck, doing your full-on sneak attack thing, because a sneak attack is always hitting a vulnerable part. The featureless the featureless eyeless head rears back and doesn't make any sound at all. That's one of the creepy things about this. Rears the head back, these dagger-like broken bone teeth just reaching for this blade. It doesn't realize what's hit it, so it tries to chomp down on this blade of shadow. As it does so, it releases part of poor Simon's flesh onto him. He seems to be paralyzed in some way. He's just looking with abject terror at this creature that's got its claws into him. So these long black claws piercing his skin seems to have petrified him in some way. Not petrified stone, but petrified in the sense that he's got fear to the point of paralysis. It reaches up, snaps with the only feature that's present on his face other than the two little slits for his nose, and snaps at your shadow blade. The teeth go through the blade, no effect, as you manage to bury this deep inside.
Oh, it's not even physical damage, it's just mind
It's psychic damage, yeah.
The
Yeah.
psychic damage.
Yeah. So, and Delroy will answer you in a bit. I'm Casca Niobe on the chat, by the way. So yeah, we've got a Discord you could join and chat to us as well. So, yep, we have a viewer who's just come in and has no idea about the Night Gaunt or why you guys are here, but thankfully we'll be able to look over last week's episode on YouTube if he wants or they want. So.
We haven't gotten that to work with Nightbot yet.
Yeah, I've really got to spend some TLC with Nightbot over the next 4 days. Thankfully, I have 4 days off to be able to do that. Yay, Easter. So, this Shadow Blade slashing into the original Night Gaunt, not one of the two spawns, and you can tell that you've done quite a bit of damage to it. The head snaps up, snaps at the blade, then goes back down to pay more attention to Simon. As it does so, the area of the neck that you hit splits open spontaneously, and a very, very small version of this Night Gaunt, we're talking gnome-sized, starts to creep out of the back of the neck. And as it does so, the Night Gaunt that you were that's attacking Simon goes down to another kind of gnome-sized version of itself. So now it's just this nasty little goblinoid type creature going at the at Simon. It's still
deeply unpleasant.
It's still digging into him. It's still got its claws in him, and he's still petrified. But you can tell that the size of these things has gone down to the point where they start to look a little ridiculous. The ones that are climbing up the sides, the two original ones that spawned, don't seem so bad. But the one that's now climbing up to you, Eclipse, is just this diddy little thing. You kind of almost want to go, oh, look at the little fucked up creature. Okay, this isn't cute at all. Farewell. What are you doing?
Yes. Okay. So I haven't got to use this yet, and I really wanted to use this the whole since I got it. I'd like to cast Spirit Guardians, please.
Ooh, Spirit Guardians for the win, and I believe, as long as you're on top of the rift or jumping into the rift.
I'm jumping in.
You're jumping in. Into the room. Brilliant! I love it.
I've got to get in the room. There's things I need to do in there. So I'm going to leap into the room, and I'm going to cast Spirit Guardians, and in honor of Game of Thrones, I'm going to fill the room with three-eyed ravens.
Nice.
And I will make sure that Simon and my two companions and myself are the only people that they will not harm.
Okay. Sure.
And then.
Well, because they all enter the area now, you get to make a bunch of attacks.
Yeah.
Well, they've got to make their they've got to do their saving throw. It's wisdom saving throw.
Yep.
DC 16.
DC 16. So the one attacking Simon fails. The little goblinoid-sized one that is going towards Eclipse passes. The one that's climbing towards Glory passes. And the one that's climbing towards Farewell fails. So roll for damage. Single roll for damage.
And the big one? Or the
big one is tiny.
The big one is...
That's 14 points. That's 14 points of radiant damage.
Okay. So you watch as these creatures get attacked. And the two that are currently going for Eclipse and the one that was once the big one attacking Simon, as they get hit, the one that's climbing up the wall towards Eclipse, just gets completely mobbed by these ravens. And the ravens grab hold of, this is quite small, it's kind of, gnome size. The ravens grab hold of the flesh and start ripping into it. Remember, this creature, by the way, you identify as undead immediately. And as you do so, it's the ravens bite in, and you know the power of the Raven Queen that gives you this power in the first place is behind these spirit ravens. And they just start pecking holes into it. And as they start pecking holes into it, instead of flesh being severed, every peck ends up in a pinpoint of light. And there's just peck at the one that's going towards Eclipse. And then in this burst of light and a very small explosion, this undead creature just explodes. Not so much that it hurts you guys, but explodes in a small shower of desiccated, rotten flesh.
Yummy. For my bonus action, am I able to cast?
That was only one of them. You've hit the others as well. So the one hitting Simon does get damaged, but not enough to hurt it. You watch at this point, looking to see whether or not this will prompt it to spawn another one, and it doesn't. Okay. Then the two ravens, flocks of ravens hit the medium-sized gaunts that are climbing the walls and start pecking into it. And as they do so, those gaunts split each into two teams of two gaunts.
Right.
Okay, and they are all small gaunts now. So now what you've got is effectively just a flock of small goblinoid-sized, shark-teethed, stretchy, dead flesh goblins, effectively.
Oh, lovely. So I can never remember the spell rules. Can I cast Spiritual Weapon? It is in my bonus action lists. I cast a third level spell. Okay. I'm not sure if I can.
So my my rules. I know there's rules that people house rule all over the place. My rule is you have an action and a bonus action. You can use whatever spells allow you to do that. So if you have a spell that's a bonus action and a spell that's an action, you can do it on the same turn, and I factor that into my encounter design. So you
Fantastic.
go for it.
In that case, I cast a big fuck off mace. Second level.
Yep.
Okay, what is the bonus? And it takes a big swing, so that's an 8, so that's a 19 to hit.
Okay, which one would you like to hit? You've got 2 crawling up.
The one that's on Simon. Because I know my...
Oh, that's right. You jumped in, didn't you?
I jumped in.
Yeah,
I know my 2 friends can look after themselves because I've just watched them mulch things.
Okay.
I'm more worried about Simon, so I'm going to use a big spiritual weapon appears behind him, and it's just going to smack him with it.
Yeah, so this mace comes down, and the same explosion of desiccated, rotten flesh happens as you obliterate that one. The 2 that were climbing up the wall towards you, as you jump in, turn around, and they're about to leap off the wall at you. Okay.
That's 7 points of radiant damage on the big one.
Yeah. It didn't have much at all, and it's not big. The original one now. It didn't have many hit points left. It was very nearly taken out by the Spirit Guardians anyway. So, Glory, you watch as this divide and conquer tactic seems to be working. You've got 2 little kind of, I'll say, goblinoid-sized undead coming up. These horrible-looking claws, not 6 inches long anymore, but kind of same proportions, just smaller.
Is the rift closing?
It is now. Now that Farewell has jumped through the rift, it seems to have done its job.
Can I just, jump in? Does that count as my movement or an action?
It's a movement. To jump in is a movement.
Yeah.
I'll
do that.
I'm going to say that Farewell jumped in onto the bed where Simon was. That is no longer available. So you're going to have to do me a quick acrobatics check.
Oh my. Well, a 14 isn't too bad.
No, that's absolutely fine. You jump through and you manage to stop yourself, just barely, from spraining your ankle or going prone. You do take halved 1 point of falling damage as the it's still a 15-foot drop. You've just jumped down 15 foot, so there's a little bit of pressure on the legs, kind of a bit of a jarring sensation in the knees. I'll draw from my own experience, and it hurts a bit, but you shrug it off, and the adrenaline means that you're not going to feel it yet. So what are you doing with your action?
You said there were 2 left?
There's 2 that's crawling up to you, although now that you've jumped in with Farewell, they're turning around as the ones were for Farewell, and they're looking to just basically leap off the wall and onto you. And
the ones that are there, how close are they to other people?
So I'm going to say you jumped probably into the center of the room. They're about, let's say they are 10 foot away from, your 2 are 10 foot away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Farewell's 2 are about 15 foot away from him because he kind of ran along to jump onto the bed because he specified he was going to protect Simon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one, the one that's climbing up towards Eclipse, that one died. So it's it's just the 2 that's 10 foot away from you and 2 that's 10 foot away from Farewell. 15 foot away from Farewell.
How close are they to each other?
To each other, they are 20 foot apart.
Each of them, or the 2 groups?
The group in general are 20 foot apart.
Well then. And they're not close to Simon either.
They are 15 foot away from Simon because Farewell has stood over Simon.
Right.
We don't need no maps. It's fine.
It's fine.
I can't cast Fireball because too close. But what I can do is a lovely twinned spell that is not the regular kind, but it's our worked out ice knife that I call Freiner's Fang because it's acid.
Yep, Freiner's Fang. So this is your acid port of ice knife. Go for it.
Yes.
Wow. I've been waiting for this.
So have I. I will throw one at each group, so like hit one of them, and then the explosion will hit the other two.
Yep.
There's only 2 left, aren't there?
4. There's 4 goblinoid size ones. 2 that were going for glory and 2 that was going for farewell.
Yes. So
they split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah. Okay.
So let's see if I hit. Ooh, that's a 14 plus 8. Yeah, that's a hit. That's a 17. Is that a hit?
On the nose.
Okay, good.
Okay. So I need to do Constitution saving throws for these now.
Yeah.
What's your DC again?
My DC is, what is the DC? That's my spell DC, right?
Yep.
15.
Yes.
15. Okay.
Is your 1 second, Simon? Is the focus she has, is that a +1 focus?
It is a +1 focus, so it's +1 to hit and +1 on in the DC.
Yeah, and it's 16.
Shit, I forgot to put that in.
Ooh,
yeah, so it's 16.
Yeah, you got a +1 focus. So yeah, your +1 focus also goes onto your spell DC. Yeah. Same goes for farewell and his spell DC. So, yeah, you throw out. You suddenly just reach into the air and pull these 2 dripping fangs out of midair, as if. And I love the fact this is twinned. It's so better in terms of the graphics. Yeah, you just reach into the air and suddenly you're just holding these 2 dripping black dragon fangs, as if they were always there. And as you do so, I'm pretty sure that Glory's face is just a picture right now because she finally gets to do this. And you throw them out in the 2 opposite directions. They hit their marks, so I want you to roll the initial magical piercing damage for the fang.
Yes. 8 on the first group and 9 on the second one. Or, well,
Right.
first target and second target.
Okay, good to know. And now I want you to roll 2 sets of damage. One will be the one explosion, and the other one will be the other explosion. I know what's passed and what's failed.
Yes. Explosion number 1 is 10 damage.
Sure.
Don't forget to add your charisma modifier to the acid damage, please.
Yeah, that's true. Charisma
14.
modifier. Yes, on that one. But the first 2, the 8 and the 9 changes.
That's piercing damage. That's
piercing. Yeah, that's
the
true.
fang is an actual object. It's a conjured object. Still a magical weapon, but it's an object, and then it explodes for
the
acid.
acid damage. And that's a 6 plus 4, so a 10 for the second one. 14 and 10.
Brilliant. So the 2 knives embed into the creatures, and both of the miniature gaunts on the side going towards where you were previously standing, Glory. The fang hits the chest of one of them, explodes, and turns them into a smear across the wall. Just this dissolved, dripping mass of melting flesh, just smeared across the wall. On the other side, the one that you hit due to a combination of the piercing and the acid gets obliterated. The final one, so just down to this one tiny little flesh gaunt, when it gets hit by the acid, sure, its flesh is dripping off it. It's even uglier if that's possible, but it's still alive.
Aww.
Well, probably not for long, because now its turn. It needs to make saving throws.
It does need to make that, doesn't it? Yeah.
And sorry, Simon, the DC should have been 17. I forgot that my knife is a +1 focus, so the is a 17 wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, your knife is effectively anathema. So, yeah, he failed. Roll for damage.
Woo, woo, woo.
Constitution saves, good. Wisdom saves, no.
Not so much.
this is a
9
feral
points
creature.
of radiant damage.
9 points of radiant damage.
Shouldn't have been much left.
I fucking love Spirit Guardians. It's like one of the best spells in the whole game. It just turns people into mincemeat. It's a grinder. It's so good.
It's so good.
Please bear in mind that if this creature gets a drop on you, it's very nasty. The paralyzing claws that it has, even when it starts to split and divide, they all get this effect. So technically, they can just put their claws in the entire party. So this can be a very nasty creature. You guys have taken 1 point of damage in this encounter, and it was from Glory jumping down a hole.
Yeah.
You were the one that let her change all these spells, dude. That's all I'm gonna say. You brought this upon yourself.
I allowed as her background. She's got the ability to Frania up her spells. So there we go. So you guys just won.
I'd be like, Eclipse, quickly get in before.
Yeah, I jump in.
Yeah, you dive in just as this silent rip in space disappears, and you're now stood in a room, a humble-looking room, as I say, 15 foot wide by 20 foot long. Farewell is stood on a bed with a ripped up Genasi beneath his legs, and there's also these ravens going hell for leather, just flying around looking for something to kill, and this mace
sorry, I click my fingers and they all disappear. Sorry, I apologize about that.
I don't know.
I still have my shadow
You
back.
might want to heal him.
Yeah, and then I will cast Cure Wounds on him.
Sure. Okay. Use the appropriate spell slot.
Just brandishing my shadow blade, going, yes, I will.
No. The ravens are mine. It's okay. You don't need to stab those. They're fine. They're mine. Yeah, I just make everything disappear, so it's a little bit more quiet in here.
Sure. How much healing have you done?
Oh yes, I should roll for that. That is 9 points of healing.
Okay, noted. It takes about a full minute for Simon to come round. And as he does so, he's got this wide-eyed gimlet stare.
Oh wait, was he at 0, by the way?
No, he wasn't.
Right, okay. I was about to say, if he's at 0, he would have just automatically got the full 1d8.
Yeah, you had 2 turns. Hang on, you had 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you had 2 turns left, and then he would have been just dead. So
Good.
He's got this gimlet-eyed stare, the colour completely drained from his face, and he's kind of hyperventilating in very short breaths, just for the longest time. And then eventually he calms, his breathing slows, he's still kind of staring into space, clearly paralysed, and then suddenly the limbs start to move, the eyes start to roll around, checking out the room, and he seems to be fixed on you, Farewell, being that he has no idea who these other 2 freaky people are. And,
Meow.
and then breathlessly he says, Farewell.
Uncle, are you well?
Are you well? I just tried to tap on this thing. Are you well?
Even in his state, a laugh escapes his lips, and he says, "Well, what was that?"
To hazard a guess, necromancy, something undead and something deeply unpleasant.
I've never seen anything like that, and the way that it managed to split itself and copy itself, no undead does that.
Well,
obviously this one does.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
A book over there. It's not so much got a name, and he gives you a series of glyphs that you know fair well. You know from the faith, and he describes the glyphs to you and says, "Chapter 7. Go." And he grabs hold of the duvet and the pillow and just holds it tight. You can see that if you actually you can't see it, but if you put your hand on his skin, he is devoid of all body warmth, and he's just holding on to the bedclothes just to try and get warm again.
I cast a lesser restoration on him.
Yeah. You place the magic to restore any particular effect, and you have a feeling it feels good based on his reaction, but he's still continuing with his behavior, just warming up. He's cold.
Yeah, he's shocked. Come on, let's get you out of this room and get you somewhere a little bit safer. And I'll help him to his feet.
Where are we at the moment? Where are we?
We're in the temple. We're in the temple of the Raven Queen. There's only other one place that he would be. So
you know that he's in the chapter house. So you're in the chapter house that's right next to the Raven Queen temple. It's not part of the Raven Queen temple, but it's where a lot of followers and lay followers and pilgrims get to stay. And there's dormitories and small rooms. The dormitories are free for a certain amount of time. The small rooms are for a small donation. And for figures of note who give a larger donation, they have staterooms and rooms with a desk and bookshelves like the one your uncle has. So that's where you're in at the moment. So you're right next to the Raven Queen temple.
Right. Isn't this one of the safest places for him to be then, rather than like dragging him around on the street?
In the temple where my fellow clerics can actually keep a closer eye on him, considering what broke in here. It's a lot easier to be safe when you've got an all fully trained anti-undead clerics around you rather than a load of sleeping acolytes. Plus, people will be awake at this time. Trust me, the temple will be a safer place.
Simon pulls out a wand from the side of his bed. You know that he's not a magic caster per se. He knows a few little cantrips here and there that he's picked up over the years. But this wand, is just a simple wand of ignition. It's for lighting fires. It's effectively a glorified lighter. He points it at the fireplace, and the fire crackles into life, heating up the room.
Well, isn't he... So, did you see the thing approach, or did it wake you up by...
I woke up with its claws in my chest.
Right.
May I ask what you've been doing the last while for it to attack you? And like, have you pissed someone off?
You've met my nephew. You know what we do. And he's still holding on to the duvet, but he is talking now and kind of just, facing the fire and allowing the heat to hit him.
I will basically sit next to him and kind of lean against him.
He looks at you as if you're very, very odd. And
you'll forgive her. She has different customs than we do.
Of course, and your
attitudes on personal space.
Indeed, and your efforts are appreciated, miss. As are your successes in saving my life. I presume that you're my my nephew's new associates. And he reaches out to a little box by the side of his bed, this tiny little box, and he opens it, and there's just a very small amount of quite nice chocolates, quite expensive chocolates. He picks one and pops it in his mouth, and says, in answer to your question, miss, and he looks at Glory, I have been doing my studies under the Raven Queen, the studies of our caravan, especially regarding, and he looks at you two a little warily as if to say, I don't know if I should be saying this. He looks at Farewell and says, I've been studying the incident.
I just shake my head. I told you not to look into that.
Oh, come on. As if you aren't.
What incident are we talking about here?
A family matter. A family matter, I'm afraid.
No,
understandable.
Didn't Farrell tell us that his family was all dead because of something?
But that was the exact words that he used. All my family are dead.
Yeah.
So you don't know what the incident is, but yes, you have heard that his family are dead, and you don't know what this incident is. It's too random to be putting two and two together.
As wonderful of all of this stuff is, Simon, we need you to get looked at properly, and if those things can get in here without waking you or anybody else up, this is not safe. Come on. And I start shuffling him out the door, and we're going towards the temple.
Okay. You do notice that this fight went in seconds. What did we get to round 2, round 3? I think it was only round 2.
Round 2.
Yeah. So this was 12 seconds of fight. I'm going to give it to you now. Not going to get you to roll or anything.
May I just point out that all of us are in our sleeping clothes still?
Oh yeah. You're all in your PJs. Yeah.
It's not unusual.
And we all know how Glory dresses in her PJs.
Yeah,
it's alright. They're not modest here. I mean, if we went over to the Temple of Pelor, they might have an issue with how you appear, but
they wouldn't want me there anyway.
That's very true. But they're more accepting.
Pelor is just about lies. I don't think Pelor is crude per se.
He wouldn't want me there anyways.
I will simply point out that we are used to seeing humanity. Well, not humanity, but the races of all people in all different types. No one will bat an eyelid, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Come on.
These guys do a lot of laying the dead to rest. They've seen a lot worse. And yes, okay, Simon is the type of person to look questioningly at a woman appearing in his bedroom wearing a negligee. But in this case, you saved his life. He doesn't care what you're wearing. You could be wearing a thong and nipple tassels and he would still be just as grateful. Potentially more. Anyway, but
it's not his birthday, so he can't exactly count on those chickens.
So he says, "Yes, we'll do that. Book first."
I grab the book. We will do the book in the temple. I feel much better with some warding and some protection in place before we do anything.
I'll finish the previous comments I said about the 12 seconds. So as you're getting up and getting him out and into the corridor and that, you open the door. And as you open the door, even though it is nighttime and it's very quiet around here, you realize something. When you were fighting across the rift, you could hear the sounds of the combat when you were the same side of the rift as Farewell's bedroom. But when you were in there, that room was absolute silence.
Fuck, I knew that was going to be the case.
This is mildly concerning.
Yeah, I hate magic. In the nicest way. This is why all my other characters punch things. It's much more straightforward.
Oh, magic is fun. then.
I will keep concentrating. By the way, Simon, I will keep concentrating the full minute on my Shadow Blade until that disappears.
Yeah, I had to check something as you were casting. I was checking really quickly because the items that Farewell cast, he cast as he was jumping in. So he had the ability to use vocal components as he was jumping into the room. And when you jumped, you did all of your spells other than Ice Knife, Glory, outside of the room. When you went in the room, you cast Ice Knife, and I had to check. I'll put it up against here.
Yeah.
And it has a V and an M next to Ice Knife, but what it doesn't have, it has an S and an M, but what it doesn't have is a V. So you were allowed to do it because it didn't have a vocal component. So Ice Knife is useful in silent spells.
Yes.
Yeah, you managed to get around a lot of its abilities, its paralysis ability, and also the fact that each one of them is surrounded with a pall of silence that fills the nearest room.
Oh, God, those are horrible things.
They are horrible things, which is why I gave you the surprise round, because if you'd screwed up on that and you didn't go in and commit to it, it would have turned into a nasty, nasty ability, because all it would have taken is one of those little goblinoid versions to go into Farewell's room, and all of Farewell's room would have been silent as well.
Yeah, nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good thing about Shadow Blade is once I cast it, it's there. So.
Yeah. So I assume we've made our way to the temple by now.
You have. You go into the temple, and you do pick up a bit of attention on the way. This place is 24/7. People die at all times of the night, and as you pass some of the clerics, one of them says, "Farewell, your uncle. What's wrong?"
There's been an attack. I need somebody to just seal off his room.
An attack? Who by? By?
We don't know, and undead in answer to your
monster thingies.
The cleric looks panicked and says, "None of our
alarms." You might want to wake Dusk.
Her eyes roll to the back of her head for a moment and say, "Dusk is up and getting changed very quickly. I'll take some of the paladins up to the room immediately. Undead, none of our alarms went off." And she runs upstairs. This is a female half-elf that you remember is one of the lower levels. She's around about a level 2 cleric. And she starts running and calling for the paladins, calling them to arms. And you can hear 2 paladins who are clearly armored up and patrolling at night because, things happen in the Raven Queen Temple. Charging towards her and saying, what's wrong? And she just goes, "With me," and darts up the stairs up to the floor where Simon's room is. You carry on into the temple, and you're going a little bit slow. And as you're going in there, you do see that a half-dressed, barefooted, tussle-haired Dusk is running in, and you know that she's basically just thrown a cassock over the top of her nightdress. And she's...
Well, both me and Glory are sporting on night-dresses, so it's like...
I mean... Glory's currently oogling what she can, but
Yeah, and Farewell will be in those sort of 3/4 cotton trousers and a big giant nightshirt. So.
Like it.
And he's got no shoes on either, so it's just they all look a complete.
It's all I'm saying.
Oh, and by the way,
monstrosity.
As soon as the fight had ended, he would have just dropped the knife. So the knife is not out, and it's not been out since the end of the fight.
But we did see it in the fight.
Yes, you did.
Did see it.
Yeah.
As you drop the knife, it's like dropping liquid nitrogen on the floor. This seemingly solid object, as it gets to the floor, looks less and less real and is more shrouded with this swirling black energy. And by the time it hits the floor, it's just a plume of black smoke that covers the ground and then dissipates. As you get into the temple, Dusk runs in, as I say, with a cassock over the top of her nightdress. She has, however, picked up her shield and her war pick. Her war pick is like a miniature scythe, so it's a war pick, and on the underside of the war pick, it's actually bladed as well. So it's a specialized war pick she can use as a dagger as well. So it will actually, you can use it for sneak attack. And she runs in and says, "Where are they? Where are they? They'll feel her."
They're dead.
Unless
They are very
there's any
dead.
more. Yeah, they're what they said.
You might want to look in his room. There are some smears left, but
My paladins, and then she looks. She's just about to explain that her paladins are up there, and she knows that they're doing an investigation. And then she looks at you all in your pajamas and goes, "How? And then she just dismissively waves a hand, and you watch as Simon's flesh starts to knit.
Magic.
Clearly.
Oh, farewell. You're so sweet.
yes.
More teleporters in the city. And
we're not sure. We're not really. I'm not really sure how we got. Like, what was that rift that opened up in your room, by the way, farewell, that made us able to just jump into your uncle's room? That was very weird.
I can hear Rodrigo screaming from here.
Yes.
I can hear him going, "God damn it, Corinne," or "God damn it, Eclipse," from El Salvador.
Eclipse.
Yeah, from El Salvador. Okay.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you. I have an idea, but now is not really the time to talk about it. Let's deal with priorities.
Dusk is looking at you with an intense look, and she goes, "Indeed. Let's find out what happened." And she walks up to the altar, and as she does so, she throws the shield to one side, grabs the war pick, slashes her hand, and places it on the altar, and she says, "I call you, come!" And as she says that, there's a blast of like a grey cloud, a momentary grey cloud, and descending down with bright, it would be a bright silver armor, and pale skin, dark inky black eyes, and these two giant dark grey wings. An angel, a deva, lands on the altar.
Is it the same angel that we saw while trying to get our memories back?
No, this is only about 7 foot tall. It's got inky black eyes, but it hasn't got the fire pouring out of its eyes, the kind of silver fire that was pouring out as the other one did. And this one has dark grey wings rather than the inky iridescent black wings of the previous one that you had. And the previous one was like over 11 foot tall with 7 foot wingspan. This is more 7 foot tall with about a 5 foot wingspan, I'd say.
I turn to Eclipse and go, "I can do that too."
My dad says hi in the background.
Hi, Corinne's dad.
Keep on going.
I turn to Eclipse.
The angel says, "Glory be to the once mortal God. Glory be to the mistress of the gate. You seek answers. Ask your question."
Oh, maybe I...
Dusk says, "What happened here?"
Oh,
And
that's new.
the angel says, "Be more specific, High Priestess."
I was gonna say,
My uncle was attacked by, for lack of a better term, flesh golems. They were capable of sneaking into the dormitories without notice. They had an aura of silence, could split into different versions of themselves, and attacked without warning or cause.
Yeah.
What summoned them? Or who summoned them?
The angel steps off the altar and hits the floor. Bear in mind, the altar's around about 6 foot high. On the parishioner end, there's kind of steps that go up around the back so that it can be used as a dais. It steps off and hits the ground with no weight whatsoever. It hits the ground with no impact and starts to walk across the room. This one is a male presenting angel. Short hair, intense-looking stare, and it reaches out to you and says, I can tell you're of the faithful. I wish to live what you have witnessed through through your eyes. And it reaches towards your face. Do you allow it to touch you?
Yes, of course. I'd have nothing to fear from this. I know it is one of our constructs, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
So,
it's a servant. It's a servant it's a servant of all the good dawn gods, but specifically this one is attuned to the Raven Queen. It touches your face and immediately connects with your mind. And as it does so, there's a look of intense hatred on its face. And before it gets a chance to speak, Simon says, I believe it's flesh sculpted. As my nephew said, a form of a golem, except not a golem in the strictest technical sense. Of course, I would say that this is something that has been molded and grown. Quite a piece of work. And I would hazard by the look on your face, a targeted instrument of assassination.
I sit him down in one of the pews because making him stand seems cruel after all.
Yeah, he was kind of leaning against you, but he sits gratefully. And this perfect, quite cold, pristine hand leaves your face. And it says, indeed. This is not a being that has stepped across the gate of its own accord. Not what could be considered a natural undead. Instead, a construct of the flesh, warped by arcane means, powered by a power source that is tainted with the school that you call necromancy. It is the very essence of Entropis, of chaos, that which would unwind the world, and someone has wielded it like a toy, making this foul creature. This creature cannot exist by chance or by natural consequence. This is something we did not see it. Yes, it is a creature of undeath, but sewn through its body is a way to avoid sight and detection. It is, as your uncle says, a tool of assassination. What malice could you mortals hold to create such a thing?
Simon, we've been raided, just so you know.
Ooh.
Hello,
RPG Lab.
Hello, RPG Lab.
Yeah.
I've been focusing on this rather than on the chat. But
We
hello,
love you
guys.
These guys are awesome.
They are indeed. I've got some Twitch stuff to catch up on about the RPG Lab over the next 4 days.
Yes. I cannot give you that answer that you seek. There are many reasons why people do what they do. Some for good, some for evil. Ignorance and knowledge. It's one of the reasons why I'm sure the gods keep us around, because we are so unique and capable of all great things and terribleness. Can I ask one more question?
I am at your disposal.
Are you able to... No, that's the wrong question. The real question I want to ask is, did my own family create this and send it against my uncle?
Oof.
Your family? Why would your family do this? It is true that the mistress can see into the hearts of men. But I am but a servant. If you wish to ask this question, you can ask it of her through whatever divination means you have to connect to her. I can only look into the hearts of those present in front of me. I can tell you that, for example, your uncle didn't do it. Neither of your friends here did it. And the priestess, of course.
Yeah. In that case, can you tell us whether or not anybody within the temple or its surrounding area did this? If you can look into people's hearts. Is the perpetrator that did this close?
That is quite the number of souls. But yes, if you wish, I will fly over the city and look into this. If it is the wish of that, of the woman who summoned me. And they look over at Dusk, and Dusk says, it's time to show the mistress's power over the city. Clearly, the person who has done this feels that they can compete with the gods, can compete with the natural order. They've turned away from the gods to fear death so much. For what can you fear if you're with them? Their embrace awaits you upon the conclusion of your life. Go. Be seen over the city. I shall happily deal with any consequences. The angel, with this very, very overt display of divine power, turns translucent momentarily and flies up into the Michelangelo-style ceiling and straight through it.
Now that's gonna cause a stir.
Yeah, I thought you'd get a kick out of that one.
Dusk walks up to you and says, we need to have further talks. You came here in a rift to save your uncle and to destroy this creature. You knew that he was in danger.
Apparently so.
Teleportation.
I'm just as confused as you are, Dusk.
Teleportation is one thing, but a rift, that suggests that we're not exactly being kind to the local fabric of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm acutely aware of all of this. This is really not the conversation I actually really wanted to be having right now, or here.
Well, we don't
with
really
you.
have much choice, do we?
Well, no, as my preference would be not to have the conversation at all. I mean, if I had it my way, we would have already have left the city by now and gone and dug up that fucking gnome dickhead and talked to him, and I'd be much further away from here. Of course, I wouldn't have been able to save you, and for that, I'm sorry, Uncle. I'm glad I actually am.
Oh, who knows? Maybe the rift would have opened up where we were and taking us to back here. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, there's no way out of this. I summon the knife into my hand.
Oh yeah, that thing.
It is a pretty knife.
This giant obsidian knife. And the knife is actually a short sword, as I've said before, for purposes of weaponry.
I thought you changed it to a dagger.
No, I've always looked at it that it's about the size of a Roman gladius.
Yep, that's exactly the size. It's a gladius. This giant piece of obsidian with a handle appears in your hand, and the obsidian isn't very well honed. I mean, it's not exactly this perfectly flat knife. It's pitted as if it's been knapped out of obsidian, so just made out of impacts. And the second it appears in your hand, Dusk is lost for words. She's just staring at it. You can't see Simon from here, but you have a feeling that he's probably doing the same. Glory and Eclipse, you can see Simon. He is just agog, and he's suddenly flicking through this book that he insisted came with him to discuss, to see if he can get some idea of it all. This swirling dark energy around the blade And suddenly the kind of stunned look on Dusk's face drops, and she says, "This is the thing that Fala could not speak to me about."
Yeah. When me and Keller were
Sorry, Kala, not
Oh.
Fala.
yeah, we're on my spirit journey, and I was learning some of the other new abilities. This was gifted me by some kind of dark sage within the journey.
What did
I
this dark
can't-
sage look like?
It was a cowled figure, thin with dry skin.
Female?
Maybe male. It's hard to tell. I mean, the restoration spell was. It was hard for me to pull memories. I struggled to focus on the event. I don't know if that was my natural prediction for not really wanting to go into my own past, or just difficulty with the ritual. But yeah, I was gifted it, and then I've just always been able to summon it ever since.
That's because it is not a physical object. It tethers to souls. And
Yeah,
it's now tethered to yours.
yeah, I figured that. Oh dear.
You realize that you now bear veil render.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's. I kind of. I know its name. I know its importance. I know that I don't want it away from me, but I really want rid of it. That's about as much as I can tell you about this.
That's because that item is equal parts boon and curse. The person that gave it to you, I know well. And Simon, even from here, you can see he's lost the colour in his face again as she says, "You have heard of the crone." Now, at that point, I'm going to stop because it is 20 to 10 and we're going to take a quick break. So let's take a break now, and we will be back for anybody who's watching in 10 minutes' time. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Kana, protect us.
Why don't you like them?
You don't know them as I do.
I know they saved us from the marked ones.
There's only one reason why they'd be in Lingard.
But no one here has ever seen a marked one. Who are you? Get out of here! Amari spirit. A new vessel. I'm marked.
What have you done, Ren?
You won't go away, will you, Ren? I can't leave. My family needs me.
All the people who think you're evil, dangerous, they will hunt you down.
Anyone caught harboring a mark will be punished. Anyone caught helping a mark will be punished. Anyone caught in support of a mark will be punished.
I don't know what is more scary.
Welcome back, everybody. Right, so we've been picking over the insinuations of what's been happening, and when we last left off, Dusk Elmheart, the archpriestess of the Raven Queen's Temple here in Ostergeld, although just outside, you can see where the token is on the map there. It's in Freetown, the shanty town just outside of Ostergeld. And you guys have gone there from the center of the city, which is where you guys have your home, your tavern, the Hawk and Harness. So you've teleported across the city through a strange rift, and it's just been revealed that the knife, Veilrender, now wielded by Farewell, whether he likes it or not, was the item that was used to open this rift. He's shown it to Dusk, and Dusk has revealed that this was given to him by the crone. And that's where we time back in. She says, for you, Glory, and you, Eclipse, Farewell knows this well. But the crone, though I'm sure he had no idea he was in the presence of such majesty, is a spirit, a Celestine spirit, one of the more famous ones. She is the ender of fate. She is the lantern bearer into death. She is one of the closest of the Raven Queen's servants, and also one of the more terrible and powerful.
Right.
Interesting.
Where the mother, a aspect of Melora, brings comfort to mortals, the crone gives wisdom. She gives truth unadorned in all its glory and also in its terror. She abhors lies. Her use is to bring the reality of death and mortality to the world, to mortals, to allow mortals to be driven by the finality of their days, for the brief nature of their existence in the prime material plane. She is cantankerous in nature and does not suffer fools or those in denial easily. I should imagine, although I know you do not remember it, that the interaction between her and you, Farewell, would have been formidable. And I should imagine quite unsettling.
Yeah, I imagine so.
That artifact, you notice that she doesn't call it a weapon. That artifact that you bear, Farewell, it is well known amongst the upper echelons of this church. You see, for all the planes of existence there are, and for all of the veils and walls between them, one thing passes between them all without any form of resistance. It cannot be denied. And that, of course, is the plane of death. Shadowfell is a borderland of the plane of death. Through the Shadowfell, one can walk into death itself and find themselves at the mortal gate, about to be moved into the astral plane, so that they can spend the final form. Call it a soul. There are many names for it. With which that they will be able to spend eternity in the embrace of the gods.
There are many gods.
That blade that you wield, though it is no blade at all, is able to pierce the veil by accessing the plane of death itself that is sown through all of existence. That knife cannot be denied if wielded with proficiency and strength. No barrier, no veil in existence. It makes it incredibly dangerous because it would allow a demon to pierce the divine gate itself and enter the astral realm.
I really wish you hadn't told me that.
Alright, that I was gonna say, sounds very dangerous. Why, no offense, but why give it to Farewell?
But it's so powerful. It's
Well, that's
great.
the point.
Yes, that's the point. Why give it to Farewell? Like,
That
no
is
offense,
the
dude,
point.
but-
You
That
don't
is the-
understand. Farewell has this bound to his soul. It is part of him now. No demon could take it, because if a demon was to inhabit his body, it would inhabit just that, his body, not his soul. One
In
who
other words-
possesses Farewell Barebones will not be able to get him to summon that blade. One who dominates him will not be able to get him to summon that blade. His mind is one thing, but his soul is quite another. One would have to completely corrupt him. One would have to corrupt him
So, if
beyond
someone-
redemption.
If someone got to charm Farewell or do a
No.
simple command spell, that wouldn't be able to affect him acting with the knife.
To be able to use any form of magical domination, or even the domination that can come from the effects of certain creatures like the Illithid. Yes, you can command the body. Yes, you can befuddle and subsume the mind. But the soul always knows. And this is not bound to his mind. This is not bound even to his connection with the divine. This is bound to his very soul. When the crone gave it to him, as I'm sure you would have perceived, what she did was step inside his soul and place the knife within.
Right.
I really wish you hadn't told me that either. Well,
I'm sure it'll be fine, Farewell.
The
Besides,
knife has a
it's
history.
useful.
I'm very happy it was given to you and not to Glory.
I have a feeling that being its divine caretaker has a higher purpose, and all of this ties in together.
Well,
If nothing
as I
else,
say,
it will
if-
probably have a penalty.
Well, I can tell you a little about that. You see, the knife has a history.
Yeah. Of course he
It
does.
starts off being something from the outside view, somewhat of an interesting and useful artifact. A weapon, a connection with the goddess. And yes, I'm sure it's very fun being able to just rip a hole in space and step through to somewhere nearby. But as your power grows and as your proficiency and understanding of it grows, you will be able to go further until you will not be denied anywhere in existence. Although few get to that point. Yes, it is sought after, but I think most people who would be interested in it now know they wouldn't be able to get it off you. Even if you died, your soul would pass through the mortal gate into the realm of our mistress, where she would retrieve the knife and welcome you with open arms. The thing that interests me more as to why you were given the knife.
That's what I meant. Why give it?
Yeah, no, I knew what you meant with the clips, and I think sadly, I'm gonna guess what the answer could be. It's the same reason why my uncle was attacked. It's the same reason why I found myself in this city. And uncle, it's the same reason we lost our family.
I fear so.
Right. What is that reason why I ask? It seems important that you tell us at this point.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't. It's not that I don't trust you, it's just that I don't like talking about it.
I'll give you what I can. I was a lawkeeper for the caravan, and Farewell here was one of the, I guess, the foot soldiers doing what the caravan was there for. We would go from village to village and we would do the goddess's work. We would make sure the cycle of life and death was preserved. Part of our role would be to look after the dying, to allow them to be at peace and be ready to meet the great mistress. How do I put it? The more militant part of our duty would be to prevent, by blessing the recently deceased, so that they would not turn, no matter how tortured the soul may be. And then to fight any of those who would have risen and be roaming the landscape. We would frequently go up against various undead. We would follow folklore, the wailing witch in the woods being just a lost ghost that somehow could not find her child in death. And we would, rather than go in and defeat her, we would show her the way. We would do as the crone does. We would show her the light towards the goddess and allow the goddess to take her the rest of the way, or one of the servants, much like the one that's flying over the city right now. We also would get involved with, and this is as far as I will tell, sources. Anything that would increase undead activity, many of us would be researching or investigating, going and seeking out stories, seeking out trends. Hotspots was a word that was used quite a lot, although I always hated the phrase. And we would be following that to see if we could remove any sources that disrupted the cycle of life and death, thereby keeping the nature of mortality pure wherever we went. As a result, our caravan would gain enemies amongst those who would corrupt the life and death cycle. Dark necromancers, those who use necromantic lore for evil ends. The greater undead. And, of course, any follower of Orcus, the demon lord of undeath. And when he mentions Orcus, you've got Dusk, who's just grasping her war pick. and you can see the muscles bulging in her forearms. She's quite a tough cookie. And he says, "That's who we are. But none of this should be a surprise to you. I mean, Farewell is the very embodiment of who we are, a grave cleric. The rest of us were support staff and caravan guards."
Support staff.
I really don't like it when you say things like that. It was not.
It's true, and I find no shame in it. I am but a scholar. I'm a historian. I was one of the family historians. And then when I wasn't with my nose in a book, I'd be walking alongside the caravan with my sword in my hand just in case some goblin or bugbear decided to come and try to nick some of our food supplies. I have no problem with my place in the caravan, Farewell. I have pride in who I was, who I am.
I don't mean it like that. To give you guys some context, life in the caravan was not simple, but it was structured. The hierarchy helped make sure that the wheels of this beast kept turning, and I had the unenviable position of following in my grandfather's footsteps, which is the reason why my uncle said what he said. There wasn't many of us actual clerics, and as such, we got a lot of attention, which is one of the reasons why I, now that I think about it, probably am the way that I am, for better or for worse.
And it's also why I'm here. I'm here so that if I get answers, I will have access to be blunt, to a bare bones.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry that, Nick, you went robot almost the entire thing, so I didn't really hear what you said.
It's probably the problem is that I'm a lot lower and I don't have much strength in my voice because I'm not very well.
But it was also like my internet going weird, so
Yeah, because you weren't robotic for me. It was just Karen.
Yeah, it was just me. So can you summarize what you said?
Basically, Farewell just explained that he's not entirely comfortable with the fact that because his surname is Barebones, he was put on a higher pedestal than everybody else. That's the gist of what he said.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that it makes him very uncomfortable to be the center of attention, which he currently is at the moment, which you could probably tell from his body language, as he is not very happy right now.
Well, he'll have to deal with it.
Yes.
Simon's name is Simon Credence, by the way. He's not a barebones, and he, as he said, he has great pride with the fact that he has his place in what was the caravan structure, and now he's just trying to continue doing what he was doing before, even though the caravan technically doesn't exist.
Simon is a Credence. I'm a Barebones. And then there was, of course, our family friends, the Fearnots. If you can't tell, we weren't incredibly inventive with our family names. They tended to, I guess, we're a lot more similar than I thought, Glory. We tended to inherit a job or thought or ability.
At least not everyone you know is called Testacotal in the last name. Everyone.
Yeah, that's a bit of a mouthful, I won't lie.
Everyone.
Well,
but I do understand the whole class system.
Yeah, I think tabaxi names being a phrase rather than like a full name, just like one short name. You shorten the name, but my full name being Eclipse of the Moon, which is more of a phrase. So that's how we name people there.
See, the more the different places you go, the more people are the same. You kept, Uncle, I'm going to hate myself for asking this, but you kept ranting about Chapter 7. What on earth is Chapter 7?
Chapter 7, there's a word, vicissitude. It's basically the sculpting of undead flesh. a kind of strange, dark artistry. It's in this book for completeness' sake because this is a book of necromancy. But this is what I suspect was used on the strange creature. Bear in mind, it had some form of enchantment sewn into its being, which allowed it to be so quiet and so undetectable. Its ability...
yes, there was... I think Lori said that well, I can also tell because I do magic, that there was a silence spell going around. It's itself was the center of the spell, and then just having this silence bubble around it.
It was quite fascinating, really. I'd love to dissect one.
Well, it didn't really leave much of a body to dissect.
No.
Yeah. The last time we dissected something, I would remind you it didn't end particularly well.
Well, we got monsters, didn't we?
Nobody got hurt. It was just like a small goo explosion, but contained.
Yes.
Yeah.
You notice that Dusk is taking in every word, and she's giving you a look farewell as if to say, you and I are going to talk later.
This is like the worst day ever. It's like just terrible. And it's like written all over his face, like this is not where he wants to be, this is not what he wants to have happening. He would be rather anywhere else but here and dealing with anything else but this. He doesn't
even have core with him. He's stuck with Eclipse and Glory.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's like the one person he would trust to pull him out of this is not here. And he's also pissed off about that because she's not here and he doesn't know why she's not here, and it was only you two that answered his call, and he's really upset about that.
So Dusk turns to you and says, this is clearly a longer conversation which we shall have when matters aren't so pressing. I already know some of the challenges ahead of you. And
I think we need to go back to the inn and sleep, because I don't think we actually slept for that long.
Yes, I'd love a longer sleep. Hey, Fair, can you open another rift back to the tavern so we don't have to walk the entire way?
I don't think he can do that when he wants to, Laura. Can you?
I am going to hate myself for saying this. Technically, yes.
But?
I'm not looking at either of you two right now. I mean, I don't usually look at you anyway because I know what you're going to suggest. But I can't believe that either of you two have just listened to the last 10, 20 minutes of what we just talked about and are suggesting that we continue to mess with the fabric of reality to scratch your... Oh, I don't even know why why did I look? I had to look. I just had to look. Yes.
Well, would you like to walk through the entire city in your underwear? I don't mind, but, you know.
Oh, my word.
I was suggesting that we could get a carriage, but...
That would be one weird thing to explain to the cab driver.
I just kind of look at Dusk, like, you know, like the naughty sort of like schoolboy that's been caught doing something that his teacher told him not to do, but then everyone's asking him to do it right in front of the teacher. And it's sort of like, that's a really good argument that they're presenting. You know, I can't really find a reason other than I've been kind of asked not to, but not really asked not to. And it's sort of like he's just giving her that look of just like, either get the fuck out of the way or help me out here. Like, you've got two choices: to get on board or get the fuck out of the way.
You notice that Dusk has been, because Dusk's been interrupted like 4 times now, and she's a patient sort. You don't become the high priestess of a death god in a large city without having a little bit of patience. And she just waits for you guys to burn out a little bit, and as you look over to her, prompting her to talk again, she says, "As I say, that will become more powerful as you start to learn more about it, and as you learn to accept that it is part of you. Soon you'll step outside of what you know into what you intend. This comes with a price. When you step from one place to another, Veilbreaker, sorry, I said Veilrender before, it's Veilbreaker, is, as I told you, you step from place to place by opening a gate into death itself and out the other side into your intended location. For a moment, you are as death everywhere."
You have met the 2 people that I spend my time with.
Yes, but that's not the warning. You're going to use it. It wants to be used, and you wouldn't have it unless you were willing to use it. Why you chose to use it, I don't know, but clearly you thought it was the right reason. You will start to walk through death itself, over and over and over again. Whether it be just for a moment to step across a room to get a tactical advantage if you're being attacked, or as you did today, to completely change location because you somehow detected that it was fate for you to be there, and we'll find out how the hell you found out that in due course. But every time you do, you are passing through the gate. The whole of death, and therefore the whole of undeath, sees you.
Right.
Remember what
means...
He knows what it means. He knows what the duty is. He knows what the more extreme parts of his duty is. You said yourself, you have enemies.
Don't fuck with balance, and don't stick a great big neon sign above your head that says, "Hey, I'm here."
You're going to use it. You're going to feel the need to use it. And if you don't use it, I'm sure the knife itself will start to make itself be used. You're fated to have this, but you're also fated, I'm sure, to attract the attention you're supposed to attract. Remember, as certain as death, your path is laid before you. Our mistress is not just the goddess of death, but of fate also, and that object, that artifact, is a piece of fate made material, and it is within you. Don't look at it as a knife. Don't look at it as a weapon. Don't look at it as a form of, I'm sure, very cool transport. Look at it as equal parts certainty and fate. Think of it as a compass needle that will point you to where you need to go. The circumstances under which you gained it meant you were going in the right direction. The goddess, and yes, the crone gave it to you, but it was the goddess's will that you should have it, Pharaoh.
So if it were a fate to be somewhere else, even if it's not in our bedroom, it would take us there?
Just to clarify, she doesn't mean our bedroom. She just meant the collective individual rooms.
Yes.
Dusk shrugs as if to say, "I really don't care if you're banging the tabaxi."
Context. I felt like that. You're upset with me, and and you're quite right to be upset with me. You're also concerned with me. I can tell that too.
I'm not upset.
We will.
I am concerned. I'm also asking you to confide in me a little more when things so profound happen. If it's not for me to know, then fine. I accept the path that the goddess has laid out for me, but I can help. So we're talking about a powerful necromancer. One who is capable of making that being of assassination. Someone who has gone to it through arcane means or through some dark knowledge given by a patron or a dark god. I mean, you defeated it, and that's wonderful. Clearly, you're blessed by the gods themselves. But I think we need to be mindful of the fact that this was sent to destroy Simon in such a way that it was going to be easy before the knife, your fate, became intertwined. At this point, the angel lands in the center of the room and says, "No one in the city created that."
That is comforting and disappointing all in one terrible, terrible package.
I did, however, detect a number of people who have darkness in their soul and a knowledge of necromancy. However, this is not my path. I am not here to hunt down every mortal who is stepping away from the gods. I was here to serve you, and I answered your question. The creator of that being is not within the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Walk forward in her name. The wings go outstretched. It leaps up into the air. It flies around about 20 foot directly straight up and then disappears as a kind of explosion of ozone, and it's gone.
Well, that was dramatic. They
tend to be.
I mean, if you have the power to be that dramatic, then why not?
So, Farewell, I think it's quite... So your uncle mentioned this incident, and I know you don't want to talk about it, but it might be really important for you to talk about it if you want us to help you figure out what happened with these things being summoned.
It's fine, Eclipse. He'll tell us when he's ready. Besides,
But
it's family business. You're not supposed to pry in family business.
Glory, it's not just about family, it's also about if he wants our help in figuring out, because you're really
I'm
smart,
taking
Glory.
the out that Glory's just given me, and it's just like, thank you, I needed the avenue to not have to deal with this right now, and I'm all aboard that train.
Sure.
But Eclipse is not really giving you that out. She's
I know,
she's
a typical cat.
I've just been reminded of something. Glory has a finesse point because something died near her due to a spell she didn't cast, and that is the trigger word for your finesse point for your Dark Opal. So you actually have a finesse point.
Oh, shit!
Yeah.
Thank you!
Glory, this is not just about... Yes, family... It's like when person likes to... This is about your uncle getting attacked by something that is caused by your past, and we were directly involved with it, and therefore I think we all deserve a bit of information on what's actually happening here.
It's not so simple.
I'll be honest with you, no one deserves anything. If I don't want to talk about it, I don't have to. I know you mean the best, Eclipse, and I completely get where you're coming from, but I don't. This is not the right time.
Simon pops up and says, "To tell you the truth, we only have suspicions ourselves, Eclipse. Please do not be insulted. When it becomes important for you to know
I can't
more...
hear anything.
Her internet's dying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quick,
Okay,
everybody send like positive vibes towards the Swede.
Yep. Someone send us some more internet.
Yeah. She needs to go put 20 pence in the meter.
I don't see the problem. My internet's fine. It's just her parents don't. Nah.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear bits. I hear like you guys go robotic like every few seconds.
This is why I suggest we both stream from my place when you're here. Because I know
My internet is really good. I don't know what's happening.
it's
Okay.
because you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm always on Wi-Fi, so that doesn't really factor
Okay.
into anything.
Getting back to the game. Simon says, look, I'm going to be surrounded by paladins now. So, thank you, nephew. I'm
When
happy.
when you get an opportunity, go speak with Hobra or summon her, Hobra Winterscribe. I've asked her to look into certain things regarding that, and I think she has some information. So I suggest you team up with her and then send me a message. And Eclipse, I promise you, when we're all back together, I'll tell everybody everything. Okay?
Alright.
Just not here, and definitely not now. Mainly because I don't have much of a voice and talking really fucking hurts.
I think it's time you all went back and finished what I'm sure was an interrupted night's sleep. Don't worry. Even if they send another one of those things, there will be heavily armored paladins looking after your uncle. And at that point, you see Kala walk around the corner with purpose, and she says, we checked the room. It's nothing to do with the room. I don't know how it got in there either. It's some sort of, I don't know. No sense of a teleportation spell. Maybe it could turn ethereal. Either way, we'll put wards around him so that nothing ethereal can step inside.
And I find once again I owe you yet another debt of thanks, Kala.
We're on the same path, Farewell. Please don't start keeping score.
So how are we getting home?
I shall summon a carriage. It can be on the temple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You...
And I do notice how disappointed Eclipse looks that she doesn't get to travel through the rift.
No,
Just so you're aware,
Eclipse is
Corinne.
fine. No,
I am
Eclipse is fine.
acutely aware of how sad Eclipse is because she really wanted to try it
It
out.
was poor Glory that wanted to. Like Eclipse doesn't really mind.
So, you hang around for a little bit. At this point, it starts to get a little bit chilly, Glory. This is not a very well heated church, and you're not exactly wearing the best clothing for this. At least Eclipse has got fur, and Farewell's got comfy jammies on. So you.
I have a pink monstrosity. It's fine.
I'm seeing some sort of baby doll thing going on, and the carriage.
Eclipse is night dress. It's like an actual nighty. Like it has like straps and then like a fabric that goes down to like her thighs stuff like that. It's not normal
tail
night dress.
poking out at the end, yeah. And a carriage arrives, and you guys can get inside.
But she's always barefoot.
Okay. So you guys get into the carriage, and you're starting to go through the city, and it's about 3 a.m, and you get back to the tavern, and again, center of the city, the carriage driver is able to talk to the guards to open up the gates to let you guys in, has special dispensation. And if he didn't, your badges would get you in, but you haven't got them on. So
Oh, you mean we can't play the whole? Do you know who I am? Do you know how important I am? Do you know who I work for?
Pretty sure I could bluff our way in, but sure.
Don't you fucking
just
talk to me like that. You know how important I am.
Well,
Thanks.
Felicia, I got a +9 in persuasion.
Whoops,
Yeah, +9 in persuasion. Yeah, I got +9 in persuasion, so I can sweet talk us in.
Thankfully, not required. As you drive up to the Hawk and Harness, and the lights are on. Low-level music is playing on the ground floor. This is a 4-story tavern, remember, and you guys are on the top floor. So even though there's low-level music going on, even throughout the night, the kind of gentle singing bards and so on in the tavern at night, you walk in and through the front bar of the tavern. Farewell in his Jim Jams, and the other two of you in various forms of nighties, and you get an applause from the slightly rowdy crowd that are there. And bear in mind, at this point, this is kind of like the graveyard, because the breakfast shifts and the people leaving their night shifts haven't really started yet. They haven't got here yet. So these guys are like the hardcore drinkers that drink long into the night. A small collection of dwarfs, a mostly asleep barmaid who's propping up the bar from the inside, a couple of tieflings, who are just playing cards quietly, kind of dark rings around their eyes as they're keeping themselves awake for whatever reason. There's a halfling that's puffing on a pipe and reading a book. And other than that, there's not many people there, but the dwarves certainly give you guys a round of applause as you walk through in your pajamas.
I'm pretty sure most of the applause are directed at Glory rather than your eclipse.
You don't know. You don't know.
No, I'm pretty fucking sure. Considering that, knowing what she wears and what she's probably gone into bed, I can put good money on that most of those applause are in her direction.
Well, maybe some of them are furries, so they're applauding like clips.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm not denying that. My boy is obviously entering the bar with two very pretty ladies. He's just that he knows that those applause are for everybody, pretty much, but not him.
So you go back upstairs to your floor, the 4th floor at the top, which is kind of your private apartment. And as you walk down the corridor, you see that Aiden's room is still empty, but with the door open.
Right.
Oh, God fucking damn it. I'm going to stick my head in just to see if he's in there.
You can see that some clothes have spilt on the floor, and the bed seems to be hastily left. He has left with his gun, with his sword, and seems to have left in a hurry.
I have a feeling that Aiden's gone out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if he's not back by morning, we'll find a search party.
I go find one of the people that I know that's like the staff, and I will casually mention that he's left, and that maybe considering that something terrible's happened to yet again to one of our group, that perhaps someone keeps an eye out for him.
They say, yes, he left in quite the hurry, and he was followed as well by Cora.
By who?
Oh, that's good.
The barmaid says, sorry, I thought you knew. But it was rather strange. You see, Aiden ran down the stairs and out the front door. Cora just leapt out of a window and landed in the street below.
She's doing that showing off thing again.
Well, at least they're with each other, so they should be fine. They should be
To
fine.
put it in context, Cora dropped 30 to 40 foot onto the street below.
Yeah, but she's got that new bullshit cloak thing. I mean, she's got all sorts of.
Also, her scarf can turn into a ladder.
Oh, I didn't know it could do that. Still, I would feel better if you could perhaps just warn any of our patrols that we have out there to just keep an extra eye out for them both.
Of course.
I've got that itchy feeling in my palms, and that's usually not a good sign. I'm gonna go to bed now. And I'm going straight to bed.
Of course, Mr. Bedons. So, you guys go back to bed for a chance to sleep?
Yes.
A chance to dream.
Do we get... So, question, Simon. Not that I used any spell slots before the day before, but was that having rested and waking up, or was it like the day beforehand and now we're getting a full rest and getting our spell slots?
I'm going to say you're going to require a bit of a lay-in, but sure, you can have the long rest starting now.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Okay, got my spell slots back. That's fucking great.
Yeah. Just wanted to know what the thing was.
Okay. So, you sleep. Glory, you sleep very happily, knowing that you've expanded your power. You've gone up against a creature that was purposely built to paralyze and slay. It's already hot-wired to destroy mages. You can't speak vocal components around him. This was a big kill, and you did it with barely a scratch. You massage your ankle as you get ready for bed, and realizing you're ready for bed. And you realize that out of it all, it was you jumping 15 foot onto a stone floor that hurt you, not the creature. Your ego starts to expand a little bit as you do so. And your familiar goes, yes, mistress. You are living up to your name, yes. I saw it all. I saw you take down that foul creature. And yet, foul, yes. Useful, definitely. You're thinking of looking at those constructs you saw before, and it's been heightened, more appealing now that you can see what others are making. What could you make in the fullness of time, mistress? A bodyguard? A servant? An assassin? Excellence would fall greatly to such a construct, if only you were to build it. But what would you need? What? Indeed. I'm sure in the execution of helping your friends, you'll be able to get some choice artifacts, components, to make such a thing, and send your dear cousin a care package. It would make you grow within the game quite considerably, don't you think?
Oh,
He's had it coming for quite a while.
He insulted you. He would send these paltry little summonings, these demons that would require only a paltry sacrifice. Is that how he gets rid of the great glory, the chosen of Frenier? No. If he wants to defeat you, or at least stand a chance of defeating you, he needs to sacrifice far more. He needs to get rid of something dear to him. Maybe a limb. Maybe an eye.
nope.
At the very least, so that he can match your greatness. Nothing less is an insult, and I think if you'll accept this humble servant's opinion, that you should send him a message saying just that, with actions speaking louder than words.
No.
No.
No. See, all that shit you just gave me about 10 minutes ago about like this kind of evil bullshit, you're talking to the wrong character in this campaign. Just really focusing on the wrong problem here.
I don't see a problem.
She's 5'0", like a tiefling, and just full of acid and bullshit, and that's fucked up.
Oh, love it.
Aww.
That's seriously messed up.
That fucking thing.
Oh my god.
It's the voice that gets you.
It's the voice doesn't help, but the fact that you are seriously considering dabbling in necromancy for the sole purpose of sending flesh golems to your own fucking family is the bit that upsets me.
It doesn't have to be necromancy to be like pure creation.
In the first place that you can do with arcane means and enchanting.
Yeah. So the first ones you saw, the homunculi that you saw with Zev the Enchanter back in episode, 7, 8? Those were biomancy, so they were artificial life made flesh purely from magical means. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put money on the whole.
Studying necromancy will give me clues on how to do it.
Yeah. So you remember that GIF, the one from, that's quite famous, the one where it goes, "Are we the baddies?" Yes. Yes, we fucking well are. Without realizing it, we've all been playing evil characters because we are the worst people.
Look,
all
it is that an ancient black dragon that's responsible for Glory's family sent
So
along...
when a mummy dragon and a daddy dragon love each other very much is not the conversation I need to be having right now.
No, that's not what I was saying, but Frenier simply sent along a guidance counselor in the form of an evil familiar. That's all. That's all it is. Just a guidance counselor, career advice, that kind of thing. It's fine. It's fine.
Don't. It's like a literal devil on your shoulder, but instead of a devil, it's like an evil black dragon familiar.
It's like having a devil and an angel on your shoulder, and it's Et the Angel.
Yeah.
Okay. As you can guess, I've thrown stuff together so that Ian and Cora are going to do some stuff next session. You guys are going to do a bit of spectating. But that's fine. Eclipsed, you've had a bit of a light session of it all at the moment. You're kind of largely going around doing the rogue thing and helping out your friends so that they don't die. But that's fine. You got to play with your Shadow Blade for the first time, which, again, 29 points of psychic damage. Ouch. Ouch.
Did your sneak attack go on
It's
top of that
really
as
hard
well?
to find. Yeah, it's really hard to find something that is resistant against psychic damage, and my Shadow Blade will do psychic damage, and because it's my sneak attack is whatever damage type my normal attack is,
Yep.
it's all psychic damage.
Yeah, so everything gets translated to psychic damage because she's wielding a psychic blade.
Yes.
That includes the sneak attack. It's disgusting. It basically, she can go up to a totem barbarian and just go, "Hey, guess what?" And he goes, "What?" And she goes, "Die," and that just stabs him because that's the one thing they're not resistant to.
Yeah,
it's pretty disgusting. So you have a
That's
great
the
night's
fact
sleep,
that
Eclipse.
Glory is
You got woken
overpowered.
up for a little bit of stabbing, a little bit of revealing other people's secrets, and to follow along for the ride. It's been a good night for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good night.
Farewell. As you go to
No.
sleep, you dream and you find yourself once again in this void. You're there kind of wondering, is this always going to be my dreams now, just to be in this place of nothingness? You don't hear any screaming, though. What you do feel is a hand on your shoulder. And then nothing, as you slip peacefully into sleep. You have had quite a harrowing emotional experience, so I would like you to just do me a wisdom saving throw to see if you get a point of exhaustion.
18.
18. Now, you realize that you should be listening to some of the words, especially the words that were given to you by Dusk, your high priestess. And yeah, you're on a path. You're on a path that's going to lead you somewhere, and you're surrounded by people who are powerful, capable, apparently loyal. You, for all the fact that Glory terrifies you sometimes, there's no denying that the glass cannon of your party comes in useful in a fight. As you're processing your day, as many people do as they sleep, you do get flashbacks of these ribbons of searing hot fire emitting from her hands and almost cutting this gaunt in half with the first attack of the combat. And then as the second one grows out of its back, something that had you shocked right from the start, how she didn't miss a trick and just threw acid in its face. Like this happens every day.
It's a Tuesday for Glory.
You come into a realization that if you could choose between 5 of yourself, 5 farewells, you would do really badly at following a path that is meant for you. These guys have all got their own path, granted, but they will be with you when your path intersects. And you have somewhat of a reassuring feeling. Eclipse, with her shadow blade and her lash knife and all the extra abilities that she seems to be getting. Glory just seemingly throwing elemental energies about and almost sweating acid at this point. You still get another flashback of her looking triumphant with a dragon fang in each hand. Aiden, surly, yes, but certainly very capable. The way he seems to be awkward in any social situation, but the second that things go wrong, he's cool, calm, he belongs. He has said in the past, you've overheard that he said it to the barman, that he did not want to be who he is. He didn't want the training that he has. And yet, it's so natural on him. It's as natural as that cruddy coat that he wears. That seems to be part of his skin. You notice he took that with him. And then there's Cora, your short editorial process that follows you around everywhere, correcting you when it comes to your mistakes, being able to listen to your fears, someone that you can confide in, and yet her herself having to go through mystery, something that she's going to need your help with as much as you need hers. And you really can't imagine for a second not going through this without her by your side.
My little bud.
It's at that point that you get just a slight glimmer on the edge of your consciousness, and you realize it's the knife. This strange artifact, equal parts wonderful and terrible in equal measure, an enigma, this motive energy that, represents itself as this giant knife, this gladius, as we've described it. And it kind of comes towards you in this void where distance means nothing. And it touches you. And you realize that's stupid. It's part of you. It's in your soul. They told you about it. It's been deposited there by the crone. But you just connect with it just for a moment. And there's a moment of familiarity about it. You realize that you can see this tapestry, these threads of fate before you. And it just feels correct. It feels comfortable. It feels familiar. You look for your friends along this tapestry, these motes of light moving through time on the tapestry. And you see that there seems to be some sort of order, some sort of pattern, some conjoining of fate. Well, clearly, you met each other. That means that fate brought you together anyway. And it's at that point that you see another light. Not quite sure what it is, but following you through time. There seems to be some sort of energy that's linking all five of you together. And in turn, it seems to be wrapped around this sixth. Very, very peculiar. The sixth person just holding everything together. You've managed to achieve something great today. You saved a family member. And as you dwell on that, you can see the other threads of the tapestry that fell away, the threads where Simon died horribly, that you blamed yourself for it. You also see the thread falling away where these terrible claws that cause paralysis sink into the flesh of both of your friends, and you watch them paralyzed as they now jump on you. All three of you paralyzed as they start ripping the flesh from your body. You guys trying to regain your agency, being able to free yourself, to move, to defend yourself. You see the thread fall away where you could have run away, blaming yourself even more for Simon's death. But you didn't. And things seem to be going your way. There's something both familiar and nagging at the back of your mind, brought together in fate. Brought together in fate. You're not going to be able to sleep like this. And so you let it go for now, dwelling on it and looking out for more signs of what this could possibly mean as you fall back into sleep.
I've got so much more work to do. I've literally just written a page and a half of notes.
At least you write notes.
Yes.
Yes, Corinne.
I have a very good memory. I just don't remember names, but I remember things, so Simon will attest to this.
Yeah. So this was a bit farewell heavy. I appreciate that, but you guys got to meet a homebrewed creature and absolutely kick the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. We will end the session there.
I was gonna say, mainly to do with like the 30-odd damage that Ray just did like in one turn. 60-odd damage.
Yeah,
that she did in
she
one
did
turn.
58 points of damage without breaking a sweat.
Yes.
It's disgusting. And then once she'd split them into these little, these goblinoid-sized creatures, Farewell just turned himself into a divine lawnmower and jumped in. So
Yeah.
between it all, you guys kind of aced the tactic. It was like, oh, look, I've split into some more things. Right, boom, and Farewell just went in like, as I say, fucking lawnmower. So yeah, you guys really nailed that. I'm really impressed and slightly scared about your character builds because they are insanely good. We didn't even have the full party, and I originally made that thing to challenge, okay, a group of 5 people but at a lower level, so I balanced a few things out so it would be okay for a 3-person party at a higher level, but oh my word. You guys absolutely rocked that thing. They didn't manage to get their claws into you. If they did, things would have started going really, really gnarly, and I would have had a nice tense moment there. But hell, that surprise round, man. Jeez. Okay.
No. Poor Rodrigo, his alarm didn't go off and he overslept.
Oh, poor thing.
Poor lad.
No!
Oh. He's going to be so bummed that he missed that session.
Well, he can watch the episode, and as I say, there's going to be a point where he goes, "Fucking Eclipse, why?" But that's part of the fun. Okay. I have no idea who is watching. Breakfast Pancakes might still be around, but I can't see who is on the stream using my phone at the moment. Stupid app. But for whoever's watching and whoever's watching in the future, watching this on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. This story is cracking ahead now as people are starting to open up personal plot lines and how they weave into the overarching plot line as well.
Not to.
We will see the second half of this night next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time, and we'll see what happens with Aiden and Cora as they get the other half of the strange goings on for this night. And now that these guys have done their version of that night, there's going to be a few bits that you will recognize, and hopefully everything will sew back together and people will start getting, I guess, some theories from now on. As
fun.
yeah, I think you're going to start cracking things open. So I'm kind of excited and scared in equal measure. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We love you all to bits. Please visit our friends and our allies. So we've got Geeky Clean that's below us here. And get yourself some fantastic critter badges if you're a Critical Role fan. So we've got some fan proud badges. There's also a lot of bath products, beard oils. They have room sprays and they smell amazing. Next session, I will also have a short video showing off some of the stuff that I've recently got from Geeky Clean, which I absolutely love. I can actually smell one of it now. I've got this. There you go. I'll show it here. You can see the glitters just about showing. This is soy wax that smells like fresh artisan coffee. It smells amazing. It makes me want coffee and I haven't got any. Oh yeah. Seriously, Felicia, I need to send you some of this stuff. Put it in a wax melter and it will make you salivate. It's beautiful.
Also, Simon, has we gotten anything back from Royal Mail yet? By the way,
no, we'll talk about that off the stream. I'm not going to talk about flat stuff on the stream. The other people to support, so as I say, Geeky Clean, go there, look at their wonderful smellies. They've got some great stuff there. They've got some She-Ra celebrating items there that are named after some of the characters. We've got, I say we, it's not my company. It's owned by a couple, Steph and James. They're brilliant people, lovely, lovely people. They put a lot of effort into what they do. And they also have some items that they've recently made for the upcoming Game of Thrones season to celebrate that as well. So a lot of cool stuff. They've got bath bombs with dice sets in them. Don't sit on the D4 in the bath. And just go there. They are packed full of awesome, and they are lovely, lovely people within our community. On top of that as well, we've got www.rentheseries.com. So for those who have watched the trailer that was in the break, that is a fantastic web series that we're hoping will get crowdsourced so that they can crowdfunded so that they can get on with making more episodes. And the producer of that show is actually our very own Kate, who, as I say, isn't here today. Director, sorry, not director, not producer. And
I think Kate does it all, to be honest.
It sounds a lot like Kate, that she's doing a lot. And we're hoping that Kate did very well in her murder mystery improv today. I'm hoping they gave us some real curveballs. Like she killed somebody with a guava fruit because they insulted her father, who was a raccoon or something. I really want to hope that she's had some curveballs thrown at her. And finally, our artists, we've got them in the GIF that's in the break. So if you need to look them up again, go and look on YouTube and look at the break, and we've got that lovely GIF. Or look below us if you're in the correct type of browser. We've got the info below. Go and look at our allies. They're amazing, and get commissions and all the rest of it, because they are wonderful. And we don't really care about getting funding for the stream. We do this for fun. This is a group of friends having fun and being tortured by me, which means I have fun. And what we would really like instead is for people just to connect, be the community that we are, and support each other and have, create. That's what we do. So good night, everybody. We thank you for watching, whether it be for part of tonight or watching the whole thing on YouTube, and we will see you next week. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye.